This is the section on registration systems. So registration systems are the frameworks through which registers are formalized. They generally consist of two steps: how you deal with applications for registration. So an application is submitted, which describes a legal instrument, and that legal instrument is normally a deed detailing legal change, and followed by the registration of that legal instrument, either through the formal registration of the instrument itself to create a register of deeds, or by registration of the legal impact of that deed, and that creates a register of titles. So far, in all of our previous videos, we've talked about deeds registered. Now, while that legal instrument that's held within a deed register is critical, a register can be a derivative of or a combination of legal instruments. And in fact, a register does not actually need to be a deed register in and of itself. And we're now going to unpick how these different registration systems have an impact. So, deed registration systems are things that we've talked about so far. Deed registration system means that the deed itself, or a copy of that deed, is registered, and this deed is evidence that a particular legal transaction took place. Now, the oldest national public land register in the world is the General Register of Sazeens. That is a deed register, or, as we said more accurately, a register of copies of deeds, and this dates back to 1617. So just to kind of go back through the process, in the beginning, a piece of land was granted by the Crown, and so you get that initial grant, which you'll go through as a deed, and that deed would be registered, or a copy of that deed would be registered in the land register, and then it is sold and sold and sold and sold, each time with a copy going through into the land register. And so it doesn't really matter what happened to the original deeds, be it fire, theft, or flood, because what you can do is you can check the chain of ownership that represents your indefeasible right of title and right of ownership by going through the chain of deeds within that land register. So when you come to sell the land that you own, you can demonstrate that you are the one and true and absolute owner of that land. So the grantee, i.e. the person who is buying that land, is happy that you are who you say you are. So why do you want a register of deeds? So as a buyer, the grantee, you want to understand, does the seller actually own the land? Do we have indefeasible ownership, as we've just described? But not only that, what beneficial rights you will have over other land owned by third parties. So, what pertinential benefits might you get by owning the land? Or what beneficial rights third parties have over land you will own, i.e. what encumbrances there are over that owned land. So to understand this, we need to derive title. And as we defined very early on from the Wikipedia page, title is defined as following. So in property law, a title is a bundle of rights in a piece of property in which a party may own either a legal interest or equitable interest, and the rights in the bundle may be separated and held by different parties. And so this title is the resolved legal implication of a register of deeds for a specific piece of owned land. So, deriving title. By deriving title, we need to search and index that register of deeds. And this was kind of called out very clearly by Professor Mapp in 1978. So the administrative efficiency of an instrument registration system and its indexing in particular is of enormous consequence to lawyers, other professional title searchers, and the public. Essentially, you've registered all of this deed-related information. Now what you want to do is to retrieve it in a way that helps you solve problems. So national registration systems and their public servants effectively act as land librarians, registering land change and indexing land knowledge to maximize retrieval. Essentially, they're acting like paper-based database administrators. So to determine if the ownership is indefeasible and of any benefits, responsibilities, and restrictions associated with the owned land, one needs to identify all the deeds that affect the owned land, determine the relationship between these deeds to validate ownership, producing a chain of title or title deed, identify what beneficial rights the owner has over other land, i.e. what pertinence there are, and identify what beneficial rights third parties have over the owned land, the encumbrance, and whether these are restrictions or responsibilities. So some form of indexing is required to support this querying. Next video, we'll look at some idealized indexing.